Hello. You all come in, hit that like and share button. And I want to say thank you for those who subscribe to the channel. I think, let me check again. I hit 37K and then I think it went one person away from 37. But hey, um, subscribe to the channel if you want to. If you don't, you don't have to, right? You don't have to. But it hit 37K. I got an email and I think one person unsubscribed or something like that. Because you do lose subscribers on YouTube. But it's not really about the subscribers to me. It's more about the views. But if you are subscribed or if you're watching, thank you for watching and subscribing. Thank you for putting forth action an effort to better yourself financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever you're doing. So, as you all are coming in, I'm going to ask you to do another thing if you're not subscribed, to subscribe, but to also come in, drop your city and state, say hello, let me know where you are tuning in from, whether you are watching this live or on the replay. Let me know where you are tuning in from, what part of the world, and let's dive right into this. Let's dive right into this. Um, the United States, the U.S., is what's the caption in there? Beyond bankrupt. Beyond bankrupt. I want to share this article with you that I was reading, and I decided to hit the live stream button so you can also, so you can also read this article and prepare according to the article, right? So this is Kim.com. Kim.com says United States. Kim.com is a digital entrepreneur, right? Digital entrepreneur and predicts a very controlled demolishing or demolition of global markets. Although this should be to no surprise, for some people it might be of a surprise, right? It may be of a surprise. Hello, Raymond, tuning in from Oklahoma. I have family in Oklahoma, but specifically you are tuning in from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tulsa, Oklahoma as well. I hope I pronounced that correctly. So mining versus, so on June 5th, that was 2 days ago, entrepreneur and activist known as Kim.com published a post. This was on Twitter saying that this may be the most important post or thread that he's ever posted. He makes a concern about the global collapse, right? I told you all, or I've been telling you all, that this is where cryptocurrency is going to come into place, a global currency system in which each country will have its own CBDC, central bank digital currency connected to stable coins, right? So .com also talked about the Great Reset topic and how a new world order aims to shift into the future, right? Where elites are masters of the slaves without the cosmetics of democracy. It's very powerful what's said right there. The elites are masters of slaves without the cosmetics of democracy. So Kim.com dissects the American economy. Some good points, great points actually, in this article. Says that the U.S. government spending and debt has spiraled out of control. That should be to no surprise, right? You see the astronomical pricing right now on our gas and our groceries and et cetera, et cetera. Um, and so that is no surprise about the spiraling out of control of government spending. He goes on to say, or this article goes on to state, that .com has been very optimistic about the global economy. In the Twitter thread he published this weekend, um, those beliefs are further described in the thread. It goes on to explain what he believes is being planned by the global elite, and he specifically dissects the United States economy. The United States did not have a surplus or balance. I don't know if you all know this, but they did not have a surplus or positive or have the United States balance a budget since 2001. That's after the 9/11 collapse, right? So no surplus for the United States, no balancing of budget since 2001. That's number one. That's the number one thing I want you all to emphasize, or that I want to emphasize. In the last 50 years, we know 50 is the number of Jubilee in the Bible. 50 is also the number that represents Pentecost in the New Testament. But in the Old Testament, it represents Jubilee, which is just a dismissal of debts, right? A dismissal of debts, a Jubilee in which slaves are set free financially. So in the last 50 years, the United States only have four. Four is the number of directional change, north, south, east, and west. 4 years of profit. In fact, all of the profit that the United States would would not have been to pay for 6 months of the current yearly deficit. Just 6 months of the current yearly deficit. So how did the United States pay for things? Or how is the United States paying for things? United States spending and debt have spiraled out of control, and the government can only raise the money it needs by printing it. So people, in other words, if you needed money, right, that means that you had no capitalism plan in place where you can raise money without printing. If you had control of printing money, but if you were in business, for example, right, you had no way to raise money except but to use credit. I'll say it that way. You had no profit margins. You were operating in the red, operating in the negative, right? You had no new customers, no new clientele. And this is where the United States is. It's not producing anything, right? Not in production of anything, only consumers, and relying mostly on other countries, specifically China, Russia, right, to export things within the United States. In fact, the United States has been in this condition since 1971, when the decision was made to remove the dollar from the gold standard. And at that point, the shift of production began to happen. Roosevelt, the president at that time. And so now, or then, the dollar then became debt. And what does debt mean? Debt means the power to purchase. And that's all the dollar became. Was an instrument that was backed by military force or enforcement by the United States to have the ability to purchase and keep its global reserve status, right? By the threat of, okay, if you don't accept it, then you are opting in to go to war against the United States. And most countries did not have the military power to do that. Well, China has been, over the years, building their financial status. They've been accumulating more gold. They've been accumulating more gold, more land through Africa. Their men have been making marriages with the women in Africa and expanding through the materials that available on African land to position and posture themselves to have that power. And so how does the United States pay for things? The U.S. spending and debt have spiraled out of control. The government can only raise money it needs by printing it, which, while sharing the image, and this is the Fed's M1 money supply, right? So it goes on to explain that this causes inflation. It's like taxing you extra because you pay more for the things you need and all of your assets decline in value. So what you have to do, and what this article means by assets decline in value, is that what people think are assets, like their houses and their homes, right, will decline in value. This is why knowing what the true assets are in this monetary reset and this global reset is so important right now, because there are assets that will not decline in value. And so .com warns about mass poverty. And let me go back to this. Having your house decline in value is going to be very detrimental for people, for example, that has HELOC loans, taking out equity loans against their houses, home equity lines of credit. So .com warns about mass poverty and a new system of control. I want you to catch that. A new system of control is coming. The former CEO, File Hosting Service, is not the only one that's predicting these rough times ahead. So are Elon Musk. He says he has a super bad feeling about the United States economy. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon recently warned about the possibility of an incoming economic hurricane. Right? Forecaster Gerald Celente recently explained that if war continues in Europe, the odds of a recession will increase. So this black swan event with Europe and Russia, the gold bug, and economist Peter Schiff has warned his followers that economic downturn in the United States will be much worse than the Great Recession. I want you all to really listen to what I'm saying here. In other words, what I'm reading, because some people still take this lightly. And I've seen a numerous amount of people say things that they don't understand, such as, I'm in God's economy. I'm going to elaborate on that when I finish with this article. I'm in God's economy. Recession won't touch me. As if God's people in the Bible never have to suffer through a recession. So the question you should ask yourself is, what did the people do in the Bible during recession, such as Joseph, that positioned them to be recession proof? I'm gonna say it in Him 500's language. Him 500 has branded and coined the term recession proof. You need to know what that means. So the digital entrepreneur.com has similar views. He claims that the United States is bankrupt. It's been bankrupt for a long time. Breaking down the country's debt and the Fed's monetary expansion.com stresses that the reason the United States has been able to get away with being bankrupt for so long is because the US dollar is currently the world reserve currency systems. Nations everywhere hold the USD as a secure asset. So when the US government prints trillions, is robbing Americans and listen, I'm going to repeat this. I don't want to read too fast for you, because I want you to catch this. So when the United States prints trillion, is robbing Americans and the entire world. They call it the biggest theft in history. He further added, the problem is it has been going on for decades, and in the end, it will lead to mass poverty and a new system of control. Mass poverty and a new system of control. He went on to say that this just isn't doom and gloom, right? The total value of the country's asset.com said that if the United States could sell off its assets in the current market rates, it would still be broke. And goes on to say that the United States is beyond bankruptcy. He says that the patient is already dead. He says the patient is beyond dead, is now a zombie. This is how broke the United States is. So a collapse, people, is inevitable. It is going to happen. Whether you think about the Great Reset as a theory, or maybe you've heard about the New World Order. But this is control demolition of global markets, economies, and the world as we do finances as we know it. It is a shift, people, in the future where AI, artificial intelligence, I heard someone, I have to give credit where credit is due. I heard someone say on their live stream today that if you look at the letter A, that's the number one in the alphabet, and I is the number nine. I is the number nine, and nine means the completion of a thing, like a woman that carries a baby for 9 months and then it is time for birth. It's the completion of a cycle. And so this is where we are headed. When you add 9 plus 1, you have 10. Zero means zero. The number one, Genesis 1 and 1, in the beginnings, as some translations read. In the beginnings, creation came in an area that was voided out. And so the reason why I'm sharing this with you, or I even decided to hit the live stream button, is because some people are still in denial, even though the writing is on the wall. California now is ordering. A lot of things are happening in California. And Raymond, I love for people to come in and participate. Raymond says to buy gold and silver. Raymond, I want you to elaborate why buy gold and silver. And then I'm going to give my opinion on it. But California orders thousands of farms and cities, including San Francisco, to pump water, or to rather stop pumping water during a drought. So in most of the farm-reaching efforts to protect California's water supplies this year, the state regulators on Tuesday ordered thousands of farmers, irrigation districts, and municipal water agencies, including the city of San Francisco, to stop making draws from rivers and creeks. So California is ordering people to stop pumping water during a drought. So this is the third year. The number 3 represents a trinity, right? A trinity can bring about a transformation, just like a man, woman, and child can bring in a third transformation or manifestation, rather, of a child. The 3, right? So the third year of the drought, individual landowners to utilities serving tens of thousands of people to turn to alternative sources of water if they have it. Some growers and small water supplies may be forced to go without water entirely. So you're talking about a water drought that they're saying in California, and which is going to affect the crops as well. And so let me see. I'm going to wait. Let me switch screens. I didn't know I had 2 cameras on. Okay, give me more insight than you suggesting that people get silver and gold. I didn't know it was 2 cameras on you all, because it's always been a currency, and I'm going to elaborate why. Sometimes that's a great idea, and sometimes it's not. I'm going to give my explanation of why sometimes buying silver and gold is a great idea, and why that's not for some people. All right, let's look at gold price today. And what do you mean when you say it's always been a currency system? As we see gold prices, it reminds me of the Golden State Warriors. Gold price is $1,854. So Raymond, how many people do you think right now, and this just for 1 ounce of gold, this is per ounce, how many ounces of gold do you think the poor working class can accumulate for roughly $2,000 that they have, when just 4 years ago, 1 out of 4 Americans did not even have $400 in their savings account or for a backup cash reserve. So realistically speaking, so because some people say things, and I know they have good intentions, but I don't think they logically break it down. So gold is $1,850. It's per ounce, whereas silver is $22.11 per ounce. So if you're looking at dollar cost average, if you're looking at ROI, return on investment, right? Then silver would definitely be the better currency system as far as coins and what's considered real money constitutional in the Bible. Now, this is why Raymond is saying gold and silver, because whenever there's a currency system reset, because constitutional, right, it is stated that gold is real money, then gold will have to be used to reset the currency system. Now, silver will be used for RFID chips, calculators, phone batteries. All of this shift into the new currency system reset, right? Silver will be used for Wi-Fi, 5G Wi-Fi technology, which is coming, or which is here rather, and gold will be used for the currency system reset. However, gold is for rich and wealthy people to reserve their wealth, not to get wealthy. Let me say that again. Gold is for people to preserve their wealth, not to get wealthy. Meaning that rich and wealthy people take this paper printed monopoly money and convert it into gold because they know that this will not devalue in its value. What they don't do, excuse me, is put this into this to later on take this when it doubles in the value at $4,000 and then get this paper dollar back in exchange. And that's the mindset of most middle class people. I want to convert this to this if they have the $2,000 to do so per ounce. This is 1 ounce of gold. And then when this double, see, they look at it as an investment. Rich and wealthy people look at it as generational wealth preservation strategy. And then when this comes $4,000, I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna get government's money, and I'm gonna get $4,000 of these ones back. That's not what the rich and wealthy do. Now I don't have silver here. I keep gold on tech, but most middle class don't have $2,000 for 1 ounce of these. So gold is hoarded, it's not converted. And then some people would say, well, gold is God's money and silver. And I'm like, well, why is your motive is to take the government's money to get this, only for this, for the government then to adjust the value of it by what they say is worth? And then you're going to get government's money again. Like, if you believe gold is God's money, that should be something that you're holding on for dear life. You would never exchange God's money for this, would you? That's people mindset that don't know. And, they heard Robert Kiyosaki in most cases talk about that gold is God's money. But he also said that rich people never exchange gold for dollars. It's a wealth preservation tool for them because the dollar is depreciating. So instead of keeping their dollar in some type of holdings that they're losing the value of it, they convert it to gold. So if you want to play a rich person's game and wealthy person's game, you ought to know the philosophy behind why they do what they do. Now at $22, I do think silver is um, a great, I guess, investment at $22, right? Because silver is both money and is industrial use. That was the whole meaning of the Wizard of Oz, the yellow brick road, which represented the gold standard. And the first writings of the Wizard of Oz, Dorothy had on silver shoes, not the ruby red shoes. The ruby red shoes was only implemented when they took the Wizard of Oz to television and they wanted the shoes to, have more of a visual effect for television. So if you study the Wizard of Oz, the farmers wanted it to the dollar to be returned to the gold standard, and the powers that be, what silver standard, and the powers that be said, no, we're not returning to the silver standard or the gold standard. So if you're going to invest $2,000 for 1 ounce of gold, then you should be a person that has riches and wealthy that you are protecting, not that you're trying to grow. However, if you want to use it as an investment tool, then yes, silver is the way to go. However, the thing with gold and silver is neither one of them is liquidable, meaning it's easy to convert back to dollar if you have to. Neither one of them right now is widely accepted in exchange for food and groceries if you're hungry. I don't know if you all noticed, but I cannot bite and eat this gold coin. And when we have food famine, people are going to want a way to exchange this, no matter if it is God's money, for food. So it's not easily liquidated, meaning whether you go and trade it in to get cash so you can exchange for food. So that's why if you wanted to select one out of the two and you're upper middle class or poor working class, the better investment strategy will be silver, unless you have thousands of dollars to invest in gold at $1,850 an ounce. So another solution that many are not talking about is simply cryptocurrency. It is simply cryptocurrency. The national gas average by Labor Day is predicted to go to $6 average. We're already seeing that in California. We're already seeing that in California. So what? Give me a second. Uh, yeah, give me a second. Let's see, you all still on? Use it to barter. I got people y'all still on. Do you know how much effort it would take to barter silver and gold if you have to go cross country, especially with gas prices? Especially with gas prices. Like, what if what you needed was 3 or 4 states away? But so hey, I'm just saying, silver is the best return on your investment. But right now, cryptocurrency, when it comes to cash flow and liquidity, meaning it's easier to convert back into your bank account. And let's try not to get spiritual on this, right? Because I think many people use that gold and silver as God's money as a spiritual cop out, and I mean that respectfully. Because look at other things like grain, wheat, corn, oil, land, real estate. Why don't we tell people to go out and get land and real estate? Because it's God's creation and God is not making any more land. Why don't we tell people to go deep sea diving and get pearls and diamonds? Why don't we tell people that maybe you should learn how to fish and become fishermen, because we will enter a food famine, and God created fish and eating certain fish is healthy. Why aren't we telling people to go out and get ammo or learn how to hunt with bow and arrows? Because God created animals that we can eat and maintain, and it's food famine. So, very liquidable. Yes, it's volatile, but reason why people don't suggest cryptocurrency, the reason why people don't suggest real estate, the reason why people don't just do the simple things that's very profound is because they don't want to study that skill to learn it. It is easy just to tell people, go buy silver and gold because you can repeat what you hear an economist say. But with that person really sat down and had a logical conversation with you, you could not explain it to where it made sense for them in their situation. Now, let's get into the spiritual part of it. Let's spend like 10 minutes of that, and I'm logging off. Again, hit the thumbs up. This is the platform where we share each other's opinion. I'm open to it, but that does not mean I'm going to receive it, because I like to teach. I don't give financial advice, but I do teach people about options. I tell people prepare for themselves for high prices, but people say that gas is not going to get to $7 in South Carolina. That's a lie. We at 5. This is my thing. Like, why do they care if it gets to 7? If $5 gas, Queen, does not open their eyes, like, will it take it getting to $7 for them to be like, oh my God, we're in a recession? I mean, do they not see that gas has increased by 3 to 5, some places $6 since January? Does it really take that harsh of an outcome for people to start preparing? Will $7 increase their awareness any more than $5 have? I don't think so. Because it's $5 that make them more aware of what's going on. Then $7 just now, seven when it gets to $7 now, just gonna be, we gotta find something to blame for this other than us not preparing for what's inevitable to that's about to happen. And there's going to be a lot of people that's going to have forced layoffs because they're going to say they cannot afford to get to work or drive to work. Their work is not affordable anymore because of the gas, which is going to be forced layoffs, which is going to be even more of a logic and reason to usher in certain cryptocurrencies and AI, artificial intelligence. Because robots, machines, drones, they don't need gas to operate off of. They don't call in sick. They can work 24/7, 365 days out of the year. And the reason for cryptocurrency is to bring in this global technology system shift. And this is where, especially silver with Tesla vehicles, uh, electronic vehicles, robots, machines that will need this industrial metal, and the shortage of silver will drive up the pricing. Because as these conductors are needed for these machines and robots, artificial intelligence, and industrial software, computers, converters, et cetera, then silver is going to be needed. However, if you need a cash flow strategy, that if something came, the third best, I think it's the first best. I think silver should be preferred by the poor working class over gold, just because the ROI and its use cases that is both industrial and monetary. And then the other thing is cryptocurrency, but knowing which cryptocurrencies to study and research, because right now it is over 16,000 cryptocurrencies, people. And when regulation comes by the government, only about 1,000 of them will last. I'm not talking about these rug pull cryptocurrencies that are pump and dump schemes. And so most people, to have a conversation about gold and silver, for most people, it seems to be real easy and simple. Just put it under the mattress, hide it, store it. Or some people might even invest in gold and silver ETFs. I believe that you should have physical possession of your gold and silver, right? And so Raymond says, for more than 2 years, I have promoted crypto to 2 dozen of friends. So that's about 24 people. And only one out of 24 has in the industrial bought any, or the insight to buy any. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. I agree. Listen, it is not my job to convince people to invest in cryptocurrency. It's not even my job to make people invest in themselves. I sound the alarm and I inform and educate. Whatever you do is up to you. Because I think Megan Thee Stallion said this. She says, counting my money will not make you rich. In other words, people, I don't care who believes it or don't believe it, who wants to invest in it. Uh, you know, at some point, people are going to see that they should have did something. They're going to see that their dollar is devaluing every day and losing its purchasing power by the hundreds and thousands. And that's the second part of this live stream. Actionaire to millionaire. Actionaire to millionaire. Let me get into the second topic, right? Counting my money won't make you rich. So, if people don't want to invest in crypto, I'm like, cool, that's you. I know where this, I have the foresight for it. I have the foresight for it. Does not matter to me. I don't convince people. I give them the education that if they want to invest in it, if they see it for what it is or what it will be, and that's fine. I'm not sounding the alarm. In fact, whenever I live stream, I make affirmations that whoever the live stream is for, that they are attracted to the live stream by the law of attraction. I don't go hunt people down. I don't chase people. I don't peel people eyelids open. Because one thing that I think many people have forgotten is that you have God's will, and you also have the will of human or humans. That means you have your own will. And God says, I give you the right to choose. God is, He's never, or the Spirit has never forced itself upon anybody. In fact, the Bible scripture says, just whosoever will, let them come. and drink where they will never thirst again. So I educate, I don't enforce. But this is to the actionaires, people that want to be millionaires or decamillionaires. And I'm going to end the live stream with this. Again, if you have not subscribed to the channel, subscribe. Crypto Queen on YouTube. Also hit that thumbs up button. I had a conversation with my friend guy today. We were talking, and I saw a post. It was on Facebook that a supernatural wealth transfer, supernatural movement. And I asked the person in the comment section, I said, what do you mean by supernatural? Because there's not a word in the Bible, right? And he broke down what he felt was supernatural. And then I said, well, it's it's always, I don't know, amazing to me how rich and wealthy people never talk about supernatural money. Have you all ever saw or heard of a rich or wealthy person talk about supernatural money? I haven't ever, ever. Only broke people for the most part. Only broke people, and they usually go by the name of Christians who want something for nothing when the Bible explicitly tells you that faith without works are dead, right? In other words, faith without corresponding action. So I asked my friend guy, we had a conversation, and I said, well, this person on Facebook went on to elaborate how Jesus told Peter to go to the fish and pull out the gold coin out of the fish's mouth to pay taxes. And he broke this down to me like this. He said, well, many were complaining, the Pharisees, the religious community, that Jesus' disciples, his followers, did not pay taxes. Now, that's a teaching within itself, because I teach people that entrepreneurs and small business owners or self-employed people pay the highest taxes in the government. And if you use strategies, you will not be in that high tax bracket, and you can keep more of the money that you make. And now you can have actual money to invest. And he said, well, what Jesus was showing Peter was that during that time, that era, that the fishing business was a big business. It still is today. Fishing, seafood, lobster, all of those, shrimp, in the words of Bubba Gump, shrimp, Forrest Gump, and Bubba Gump shrimp. Very lucrative business to be in, even to this day, right? And so even in a food famine, if you know how to fish, you're a big commodity, right? And he said what Jesus did was give him a strategy. First, Jesus asked, do the king kids pay taxes? Peter answered, no. That's number one. I broke down to him that's why I teach about the home-based business, because it's a very inexpensive way. If you are an employee or a small business owner or self-employed, for you to get out of the tax bracket. Very inexpensive way. The Bible breaks that down in 2 Kings chapter 4. However, about the power of a home-based business. And he said what God was telling him, that Peter, if you go in and get money under the business corporation, then that's a tax strategy. Most people don't know about tax strategies, and therefore they don't have money to invest. So instead of saying supernatural money or supernatural miracle, what God really was doing was showing Peter a tax strategy. 2 Kings chapter 4, it breaks down the widow woman whose husband died and left the family in debt. And it breaks down that then Elijah gave her a strategy to retire rich. If you look at 2 Kings, if you read it during your free time, during your leisure, you can see the opening lines of Second King was the widow woman says, "My husband, your servant is dead, and you know that he feared the Lord." So what Elijah gave her was a strategy to show her how to take that same servanthood that her husband had and allow her children to serve her in a home-based business. And once you put business strategies and add it to biblical wisdom, that you will be financially free. He said, have your sons to work for you instead of being employees. Teach them entrepreneurship. Teach them to work for you in a family-owned and operated business. That's why the rich and wealthy, the Waltons, they have generational wealth, because the creditors was about to take her sons. They was about to work for the creditors as slaves. All of these were strategies. It's really nothing supernatural about it. It is very technical instructions. And I tell people like this: do not listen to people that give you information. Meaning that I can come on here and say, hey, supernatural wealth increase, supernatural, God is going, just like God told Peter to get the money out the fish's mouth, God is going to supernaturally send money your way. That's information. Instruction is queen. How do I apply what Jesus told Peter and what Elijah told the widow woman in 2022? That's instructions. So let me make it rich or visible for this is 10 dimes, right? This is $1. This is $1. What Jesus was teaching Peter and Elijah teaching the widow woman, your biggest stealer of wealth is taxes. For every dollar that you earn, that's called active income. That means you have to participate actively in doing an activity or showing up physically for a job or a small business every day in exchange for your time, for money. So you give a whole lot of time for a little bit of money. This is why people don't have money to invest. This is why people don't have the money they need to even convert cash into coins, whether it's crypto coins and or gold and silver. And people exchange their whole lot of time for just a little bit of money. Well, when you get paid, the government off top out of a paycheck takes 30 cents on every dollar that you make. So you do the math. This is 30 cents that if you knew how to shift the money back to you and your household, which you can do through a home-based business, this is 1/3 or a 30 cents that you can be used to invest in the marketplace. That's what Matthew 25 talk about, 5 foolish and 5 wise virgins. So now you have 70 cents left on every dollar that you actively exchange your time for money for. So now they tell you, okay, you need to get a 401k, you need to get insurance. Big businesses take the rest of your money. 401k is Wall Street. Insurance is the banks. So now your money goes to Wall Street before it even comes to you and your household. 401k plan, health insurance, dental insurance, vision insurance. And you wonder why you broke? You wonder why you broke. So okay, that's 50 cents right there, every dollar you make. Before it even hits your direct deposit. Before it even touches your hand. So what Jesus was telling Peter was, let me give you, if you want to call it supernatural, let me give you a tax strategy. My friend guy that I was talking to says people don't understand investing in real estate and the tax strategy of real estate. Most people don't even understand, Raymond, the tax strategies of investing in gold and silver. That's why I have books out. It's called Cash, Queen of Coins, um, Silver Report, right? And it teaches people that there are some silver and gold that you can buy or invest in that does not have to be reported to the IRS, but not all silver and gold investing is the same. Some of them will require a 1099 form to report it to the IRS so that if you decide to sell it back for government's money, aka man's money, you're going to be taxed on it. Tax is your biggest stealer of wealth because I just showed you. Now you got 50 cents left for every dollar you earn. So then what happens then? Other big businesses come in like Chevron, Exxon, Home Depot, Lowe's, your big grocery store chains. So we're going, inflation, supply and demand. They create this war which spikes up the price of your gas, groceries, daycare, food. Now, before you pay rent, before you pay mortgage, before you pay your car note, before you pay any bill, utility, now the money that's transporting you back to work or your small based business, that's 20 more cents. You got 30 cents left for mortgage, rent, essential foods, if you have children, for clothes, put a roof over your head. And then out of this, if you tie to the church or a charitable organization, they tell you, give me 10 too, and you'll get a supernatural blessing. And I'm not against giving to any charitable organization or churches. I am against giving to churches that teach you falsely. However, I will say that, and I hold nothing back. Because the Bible is meant to be read, and not literally, but in allegories, and most people don't understand that. They believe literally everything the Bible says happen. It's an allegory book for the most part. So do I believe Peter went and found a gold coin and fish in mouth? No, I believe that's an allegory story that's giving you tax strategies. Do I believe the woman opened a home-based business? I believe you can do it. Because what Elijah told her to do was now go borrow vessels from your neighbors. And he said, use credit to get out of debt. Most people don't know how to use credit to get out of debt. All you've been hearing is Dave Ramsey telling you getting in debt is wrong. Giving debt is evil. The Bible says in Romans to owe no man nothing but to love him. That's not what the whole context of that scripture is talking about. The scripture was to give honor what honor was due. And it said that if you owe somebody something, pay them what you owe them. If you owe someone honor, give them their honor. If you owe someone love, give them love. Read the whole context of the scripture. So what I do is, okay, I teach people what's called income shifting through the same biblical principles and wisdom of opening a home-based business, because most people cannot afford real estate. In real estate, you can pay thousands of dollars, sometimes 5 and 6 figures, and you may only cash flow $100 per door for real estate. I am blessed to cash flow 4 figures in my real estate. And that was nothing but by the infinite intelligence. One day I'm going to give you all the story of how that happened. Most people only cash flow hundreds in real estate, but they have to invest thousands. So what I do is help people get the money right back out of their paycheck. So you can afford to, if you want to, tithe. You can afford, if you want to, invest in crypto, gold, or silver. Because now your 30 cents is given back. And the only place you can do that is through a home-based business, because it has well over 475 tax deductions that you probably never even heard of. The Bible will give you strategies that you have not heard of. but people do not want to take action. It is really not much supernatural about it. The Bible is a very basic book that people make spooky, and they pray in tongues as they telling it to you, and they play a certain hertz of music in the background to hypnotize you because they can't interpret what it means. In fact, and go read yourself, go fact check me. Anytime anyone tithed in the Bible, it was after they received the blessing. It was not to get a blessing. The blessing did come through their giving. And I tell people all the time, since giving is your first step in receiving, it is your giving that makes you rich. But you need to carefully analyze who and what you're giving to. You cannot give money to an organization that believes in poverty and think you're going to reap prosperity. You can't. And I told someone today on my Facebook, I'm like, you can't be lukewarm. They made a post and then they went on to block me because I really thought about blocking them. But they made a post that said that physical money is going to soon be digital money. But I'm not telling you to invest in cryptocurrency. And I'm like, well, why are you informing them that physical money is being converted to digital money? If you know this, if you have what the religious world call revelation, when they can simply says, I have insight, right? If you have that revelation, then why not tell people? See, you cannot be lukewarm. Well, first of all, it was not his insight. He was repeating my insight. So if you're going to repeat my insight, don't have a disclaimer saying, but I'm not telling you to invest in it. If you know, the exact location and people are hungry, and you know that within a couple of months that food is going to grow in this location, why would you tell people, I know a place that food will be in a few months, but I'm not going to tell you to go there and get it? See, if you don't have insight on a thing, if you don't believe the instructions that whoever you decided to be your mentor in life is giving you, faith without works are dead. Then don't even give the instructions. Most people don't listen to people because they don't sound creditable. And you should not be telling people something that you yourself are not willing to invest in. If you don't understand cryptocurrency, get an education somewhere and stop talking about it and apply it to your own life. And then once it works for you, then share the knowledge and the good news, if you choose to, with other people. That's why it does not matter to me who wants to invest in cryptocurrency. I ain't like LeBron James commercial used to say, I am a witness and I have insight and I have the foresight. But whatever you want to invest in, don't leave out the value of having food on the shelf that has long shelf life. Don't leave out the value of getting 30 cents more if you earn a paycheck back to your paycheck by simply investing in a home-based business. Don't try to invest when you haven't even created cash flow for yourself. And don't try to tell others to do something that you yourself are not tied into. See, spiritually, you want to align with people. And another thing I want to bring out, Elijah, and all of these was during recessions in the Bible. For some reason, people think that the Bible doesn't even talk about recessions or depression when they do. But Elijah, 2 Kings 17, met a widow woman And his strategy for her was different. She was in a food recession. Other the other two, Peter was in a taxes deficit. The widow woman, 2 Kings chapter 4, was in bad debt. Her sons were about to be sold as slaves. 2 Kings 17, she was in a food famine. The answer to that was to give that which you lack, but give it to a person that you are strategically in alignment with. A strategic relationship. A person that you know can manifest that you're trying to manifest in your life. That was a strategic relationship. My mentor told me this on the phone. He was like, there's 3 levels of relationship in your life: organizational, strategic, and social relationships, just friendships. But I always remember the law of association. If you hang around 9 broke people, you're going to be the 10th. And if you hang around 9 prosperous people, just by association, it's called guilty by association, you'll be the 10th. This lady strategically recognized a person, a mentor in her life who can manifest. And 2 Kings 17 goes on to explain that as long as Elijah was under her roof, as long as they was in connection and collaboration, her food supply never ever went lack. Who are you supposed to be in strategic alignment with? Who are you supposed to be connected with? Whether it's in business, organizational connection, maybe it's your job, your supervisor. You're supposed to be there because maybe you work under a supervisor that has something on their life that you would like to have on yours. Identifying relationships. Raymond says being on Social Security, having 5 generations to look after. I'm hoping crypto will help me purchase real estate. Raymond, I hope so as well. I hope so as well. I love for people to break the ceiling of being on a fixed income. I just read an article last night on my live stream that a woman that was on Social Security was about 800 and something dollars a month. She lived in a mobile home, aka trailer park. She had paid off the mobile home. It's no telling how much she probably paid it out 3 times as much as it was worth, because mobile homes depreciate at a fast rate. So she had paid off the mobile home. But now the rent was raised for the plot of land that the mobile home sat on, because she also have to pay for the plot of land. So she's never free of payment. And the rent raised from $350 for the plot of land all the way to $1,000. You know why? Because they're probably going to take that trailer park and transform it into a more expensive area to live, or maybe a mining, crypto mining area. A lot of commercial real estate is going to be transformed to crypto mining areas. So she said she cannot afford that. Her Social Security is only 800 some dollars, and she's on food stamps. So I teach people there's no fixed income in God's system. There's no fixed income in network marketing. It's infinite. Everything depends on your effort, your work, your belief system. Ms. Yates says that's why I started reading for myself and understand that I was taught. I agree. And I'm gonna end the live stream on this. During slavery, it was illegal to teach the slaves to read and write, but they presented the Bible to the slaves, right? And the slave masters will be standing or in position as they chose what preacher that they wanted to preach to the slaves. A black preacher, black male in most cases. But the preacher could only preach what the slave masters, or the excerpts from the Bible that the slave master said, I want you to preach. So the Bible was never really taught in full context, only scriptures, chunks of scriptures taken out. And it was never taught from the purpose from which it was written, which is allegories, right? People took it literally. They didn't understand the metaphysical meaning behind a lot of it. And so it is still that standard way today. People sit in churches, they hear whatever, as my friend guy said, cliff notes that the pastor has come with. They don't go home and study for themselves to show themselves approved. They don't read the translations in the Hebrew or the Greek, which is the original text. And they don't understand the metaphysical and the exegetic meaning behind it. And so they are forever lost and they're forever proclaiming supernatural things, but not getting the full meaning, which keeps them struggling financially. So you all, again, make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you like the material, right? Um, Make sure you hit the thumbs up if you like the material. And people, shift your money back to you, whether you're a self-employed small business owner or an employee. You can, by texting cash flow, get that 30 to 20% chunk out of your paycheck so you can stay afloat of inflation and actually have money to invest in this new digital currency system. Because again, we are changing currency systems, people. You all have a great, great night, and be blessed. Queen out. Don't be stressed, but be blessed.